background in both computer science and electrical engineering, I had a bit of a leg up in terms of developing a prototype, and I had done R&D work before and developed a few prototypes in the past. So that helped out with developing a prototype rather quickly. And the goal with that very first prototype was simply to validate some questions that we had. Validate questions about what kind of a camera do we need, what kind of an angle, field of view, questions about vibration in the helicopter, how badly it will affect the image. And some of our very early tests were we strapped a variety of different action cameras in the cockpit and just had them record, just to even gather some data before we even started developing our own technology.
So what stage are you at now? Tell us about what's happening right now.
We basically went through the prototyping phase and developed something that we were able to install in 2 aircraft over the summer. And those were 2 of the RAP attack helicopters that are involved in firefighting provincially. And again, the whole goal of that deployment was to put our system in the helicopter for months at a time and then evaluate how it worked during that period. And just fairly recently, once the helicopters came back from fire season, we removed the devices and are going through some further work now on making some modifications that we identified. There are a lot of iterations when you're prototyping something like this, and then working towards manufacturability and all of the certification requirements as well, which when you're working in the aviation industry, it's a highly regulated industry.
So tell us about the process of creating the prototype.
Yeah, so initially to create the prototype, we basically assembled some hardware on our desk, and we knew we had all the pieces working together the way we wanted them. And then we started making some custom circuit boards to combine all those pieces, shrink the form factor down a little bit, but still, I would say it was a lot bulkier than it had to be. But we basically wanted something that we can put in a box and put in the aircraft. So I developed the circuit boards myself. I taught myself, PCB layout software and CAD software, and started developing those. And then I had a connection to someone in the machine shop at Okanagan College who does CAD design and 3D printing. And so I had initially talked to him about designing a case for our idea. And I drew up some sketches, but I had never done any real CAD work myself. And then in trying to explain my idea to him, I found that it would just be easier if I did it myself. I sat down and taught myself CAD, or at least very, very basic skills to be able to make a case. And I had him 3D print it for me, and that worked out really well. But then I discovered the value of 3D printers and rapid prototyping, so I ended up investing in our own 3D printer to be able to iterate on designs a lot faster. And I would say it's a hugely valuable tool. I've been using it almost every day now in terms of making design changes, just being able to have something that you can touch and feel and even show to people and say, what do you think about this design? And look how it would fit in an aircraft and things like that. So definitely rapid prototyping has been extremely helpful.
Have you come across different resources that they could take advantage of in the community?
So UBCO has some resources, as far as I know. In terms of the Star Lab has a very high quality 3D printer that can be used for closer kind of flight fidelity items, as I call them. You can definitely outsource. There's a lot of websites where you can simply upload your file. They will print whatever you designed for a very small fee, and they'll ship it to you. And that's the kind of approach that I took for my circuit boards. As I created the design, I sent it off to one of those websites. They send you like 10 copies of the circuit board within a matter of a week or two.
How many iterations do you think you've been through at this stage over what period of time?
I would say in terms of relatively major design changes, probably 4, but each of those major changes has a lot of smaller revisions in it. I could show you my whole box full of 3D printed parts. And that's one thing that I like to do, is actually keep each version or keep parts as they lead up to the final product. It really shows that natural progression of how the product developed. And I've always liked when I walk into a company and I can see their very first prototype. I remember walking into one of the local aviation companies here in town called Skytrack, and they develop an aircraft tracking system for aircraft. And I walked into their office, and right there in the glass display case, I saw this. It was an old metal first aid kit that they had attached a bunch of buttons to and had the circuit board sitting in there. And that was their very first prototype.
Nice.
And now they have this international company that develops systems for all kinds of major aviation companies.
Now knowing what you know, what do you see as a timeline for actually bringing a product to market?
So we started working on this project last September, so it's been a little bit over a year now. We had our first prototype by last December, and then just started iterating on that. Our goal was to be into manufacturing by about now and have it on the market by the end of the year. That was a very ambitious goal, especially for the aviation industry. So that's going to take a bit more time. I would say that whole process could take up to, like, from start to finish, could be around 2 years, realistically. And that's been through working with other companies in the space and talking to them. And some companies may be able to do it in about a year time frame, but they're well established and have their processes in place already.
How did you source potential manufacturers?
Some of them came to me. So when we were featured by MyTax and won the MyTax Entrepreneurship of the Year award, our story got picked up by 2 of the biggest aviation magazines in the world. And through their email lists and everything, people found out about our story and just reached out through our website. So that was really rewarding. Along there were both manufacturers and end users. So that gave a few of them an opportunity to be in early discussions with us on that.
In this customer discovery and prototyping process, how many customers have you located? And were you able to really use that process to line up potential customers for when you go to market?
In terms of customers, or in terms of customers we've done interviews with, I would say it's maybe around 50, I would say. But some of those are also distributors. So they have a much larger reach, obviously.